Have you ever wondered what the forest could suddenly turn into a sort of police of God? Looks like something from the movie, right? But as it turned out, in Portland, Oregon, it was so impossible that even those who like to believe in miracles, it was jaw-dropped. And the strange thing was that everything happened without a built-in siren, with no police officers in the flesh and blood, and without the shackles of the metal. There, in the middle of nature, just invisible, took over, and anyone who has tried to run away from the law ended up being stuck with something that looks like the output from a dream or a mystical story that no one can explain. Have you ever gone through something like this? The feeling that, somehow, the universe decided to give it a punishment or a lesson that no one had expected. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out right now might surprise you in a way that neither of you have ever imagined to be possible. I'm a great hand, and on that afternoon, as I was walking through the forest, which seemed to be a silent, almost in a whisper secrets of the ancients, something has happened that has changed the way I view the world. It was as if nature had decided to act as a judge, a silent witness of a crime that is so absurd, it seemed, even on a cosmic joke. You know, when everything around her seems to be conspiring to reveal a greater truth. So, it was the kind of moment in which reality is mixed with the unexplained, leaving a mark on your soul. And, most impressive of all is that it is right in the heart of the forest, with a kind of miracle, almost as if the sky had been an order of the unseen, so that justice would be done in a way that is unexpected. And what was even more puzzling is that this story is not fiction, it's not an urban legend. This is something that actually happened, and the only one who was there can you feel the power of that moment in time. But before I tell you anything, I need you to picture the scene. The sun is just starting to set, the wind carrying the scent of sweet honey, and age-old trees, that seem to be watching everything with his eyes hidden. In the silence, something has started to move. It's something, and it was found that the nature in some way, he decided to act as a power top. And from now on, you'll understand why this story became a symbol of the righteousness that comes from heaven itself, just that no one is able to explain, but you feel it. Stay with me, because in the next chapter of this story will make you question everything that you think about the law, the penalty, and the power of nature. It must come as no surprise. And, believe me, the next thing that happens is going to engage you in a way you never thought possible. As the story unfolds, it is becoming increasingly clear that there is something beyond the understanding of a rational guide to these developments. It's as if an invisible force, a kind of self-righteousness in the universe, they were there, watching silently, step by step, each and every choice. And in the silence, you realize just how much we are small in the face of something so great, and, at the same time, so mysterious. This may be the very essence of reflection, to realize that there is a limit to what we can control, such that there is an order that is not often we are able to understand it, but they are, in some way, to teach us something about the importance of humility and respect. Thinking about it, it all leads to a sense of a deep connection with the world around us. It is as if, for each event, the more inexplicable as it may seem, he carried a message that goes beyond the words, by touching an intimate part of one's soul. And it is at this point that we realize that it is our responsibility to not only act, but also be mindful of the lessons that the universe gives us, even as they seem to appear from nowhere, or a challenge to our understanding of it. Each and every step of this journey, and reveals that the real power lies in our ability to respond to the mystery, and learn to trust what we can't see it, and to keep alive the hope is that everything has a purpose. If this is a subject, it made sense to you, leave it here in the comments which one you touch him you don't want it all up with loving care. Your participation is what keeps you in this journey to live, because when you like and comment, we understand that this message needs to reach out to more people. And if you want to continue to explore this kind of thinking to me, take advantage and subscribe to the channel. This video is a step further on our journey. Right now, for us to continue to deepen this topic, there's something even more important what you need to understand. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because a lot of times we get lost in the idea that what really matters is what's in front of us. In our external actions, our decisions are visible. But, in reality, it all starts on the inside. It seems like a cliche, but it is the pure and simple truth. The true transformation is the one that really changes the game takes place in the interior, in the way we see the world, not only in our minds. When we begin to understand that making the most powerful, not just in actions, but in the mindset that you support them, it changes everything in the picture. It is as though, all of a sudden, we realize that the true power lies in our ability to shape our own perspective, to reprogram your mind to see possibilities where before you could only see limitations. And that shift in mindset is a journey, a silent, almost invisible, but it has a profound impact, and sustainable. It is a building of the day, and the courage to face the truths that are sometimes hard to accept, but which, once seen, they release a force that not even imagined to have. This force is, in most cases, it is hidden under layers of fear, doubt, and up to the right property. And a lot of times people don't realize that these internal barriers are a major block to our progress. The truth is that as long as we don't change our way of thinking, we will be stuck with the same stories, the same patterns, the same limitations that we have created for ourselves. Oh, and here comes the question. How do I make this change happen for real one? How to turn a mindset that has been built up over a number of years and sometimes for life, something that is conducive to growth, achievement? There is no simple answer, but it starts with awareness. When we acknowledge that all of the things that we believe in, what we think, what we feel, it is a building of our own, we can begin to break down the things that limit us. It is not a matter of denying that we are in, but you should understand that we can rewrite the narrative and which we can choose from an all-new story for ourselves. And it is that choice, that decision to reschedule. Sometimes it requires us to look inward with enough courage. You can look at our own shadows, our wounds, our failures, and without judgment, just acknowledging. Because you are, in fact, the learning comes from the confrontation of these parts that we would prefer to conceal. If you are unable to do so, something that becomes almost magical. Our vision expands, our possibilities become greater, and the fear that once appeared to be invincible becomes the fuel to move forward. It's a real internal alchemy, a change in the essence. It doesn't depend on external factors, but internal decision, a commitment to who we are and who we can become. And then, when you see that deep, you begin to understand where the universe conspires to help those who believe in their own transformation. What are the opportunities that may arise because of our mentality is to align yourself with them. The doors are open for our inner energy that is vibrating in tune with what we have in mind. It's as if we decided to create a new reality, a new frequency, and the world around you will begin to reflect this change. And this realization is liberating, because it shows the true power that is within us, always has been, but we can access when you have decided to take on the responsibility for our progress. When we realize that we are all responsible for the shaping of our history, and the weights of the constraints disappear, and a new possibility emerges, that of creating a life that actually makes sense for those who are in the middle, for those who are in the making. And this is where it all starts to fit together, because of the change of mind is not an isolated event, but as a bridge to a new way to live, to love, to create. It is a silent revolution that is happening from the inside to the outside, where every choice, every thought, every decision reinforces that this is a new story. And to understand this, we understand that there is no more room for excuses to justify them. There's just a chance to rewrite our history, and in turn, our truths, built on the motive power of life and full house. Because, deep down, all of the things that we look out there, it only makes sense when we're at peace with who we are on the inside. This is the true essence of the transformation. Discovering the power to change is within our grasp. It is enough that we decide to open our eyes to the truth. And when you do that, everything around you begins to reflect the light. This is a new way of looking at the world and ourselves. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, deep down, all of the things that we look out there, it only makes sense when we're at peace with who we are on the inside. This is the true essence of the transformation. Discovering the power to change is within our grasp. It is enough that we decide to open our eyes to the truth. And when you do that, everything around you begins to reflect the light. This is a new way of looking at the world and ourselves. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. When we begin to understand that real change comes from within, and it all becomes a kind of mirror of the invisible, where our actions, our choices, and our feelings are reflected in a way that, often, we have to realize it immediately. It is as if, behind all of our daily lives, all of the masks that we wear to look strong or in control, there was a quiet strength, a kind of wisdom, sleeping beauty. We just need to wake up to smoother to show you your true power. And it is this, that strength, that essence, that is what really connects us to the things that are, in fact, our authenticity and our deeper purpose. When you look at the inside and allow ourselves to such a connection, you begin to realize that many of our limitations, our doubts, our insecurities are, in effect, a type of shadow that is created to deny the parts of ourselves. These eyeshadows, they seem to be so heavy, it actually carries a valuable lesson. They can show us the way to where we don't accept who we are, where we resist the truth. And all of it is, in essence, a way to get away from that fact, be wrong of what we need to be perfect and that we need to control everything around us to make us feel safe and secure. But this security will never come from the outside. It never was something that anyone or anything that could possibly give us the truth. The real security is born from within, out of a deep understanding that we are all complete and that's all that we need is within us. When you have this understanding, it starts to establish a sort of genuine freedom comes a light weight, which do not depend on the external environment, because it is born out of a connection with that which is eternal and unchangeable in the us. In this connection, it is what allows us, then, is to accept our own faults, our failures, our hurts, as an essential part of our course, and not as an obstacle, which in the desecreditum. In practice, this change in the interior is not an act of strength, or the stress is constant. It is a matter of a wake-up. Allow yourself to feel, to hear, the silent voice that has always been there, willing to guide you. It's like a seed that is receiving the proper attention. It starts to grow slowly, putting down roots deep, deep in our hearts and minds. And, when the roots grow stronger, everything around us is turning to a very natural way, as if we were just letting your life speak, in its most pure and true to ourselves. At this point, we realize that the greatest battle is not against the outside world, but our own internal resistance. It's a fight to the silent, often invisible, against the old patterns, the limiting beliefs and fears that prevent us from being who we really are. But, once you've decided to confront such a strength, with love, with patience and courage to look inward, it begins to fade into the background. The obstacles, they lose power because we give our fear, and you begin to nurture our inner selves, our deepest truth. And in that moment, we realize that the real power of change is not to try and control everything around us, but to learn to be the observer is aware of everything that's going on inside of us. This awareness is a very powerful tool, because it gives us the freedom to choose how we want to identify it at the time. If you choose the fear, the doubt, the anxiety, we can just acknowledge them, accept them, and then letting them go without judgment. If you have opted for peace, for love, for hope, and we can also grow them, to strengthen this vibration that connects us with our essence, the more light. And then, over the course of the journey, we begin to understand that everything that we are looking at the outside world, it is, in fact, an attempt to fill a void that can only be filled when we connect to our inner truth. It's like a constant search for something that is already within you, just waiting for us to acknowledge His presence. It is liberating, because it takes away from the condition of a victim of the circumstances, and it puts us in the role of the authors of our own destiny, able to bring about a new reality, one that is aligned with who you really are. And, to the extent that such knowledge will deepen a sense of peace, a genuine beginning to blossom, with a peace that is not dependent on anything outside of us, but that which is born of acceptance of who we truly are, with all our flaws and strengths. This is the real power that is on the move, the rock-solid foundation for the transformation that is more than skin-deep, but deep-rooted in our experiences more fully. And in that moment, it becomes clear that it is the greatest power we have is the power to reconnect with that part of us that has never left us. It has always been there, just waiting for us to decide to open up your eyes and see it. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because you are, in fact, that the force has always been with us, it's not something that needs to be conquered in or out of the out there, but I've always been inside, hidden by the layers of beliefs, fears, and the routines that we have built over lifetime. It is as if, for some reason, you decided to get away from that in our essence, the purest, perhaps out of fear of being seen. So we believe that vulnerability is a weakness or simply because the world has taught us to make better use of the outside the house. And there in the interior, we live in a kind of self-deception, a story that binds us that makes us believe that our happiness, success, and peace is, as something that we can win, earn, or achieve. But in reality, there is nothing in our ability to look within, to listen to the little voice that had always been there. It's quiet, but that never stopped us a call. It is as if, for some reason, you were trapped in a mirror that reflects our own limitations, our own doubts, our own self-critical class, and it is only when we break the mirror, setting us free from the website we created, we were able to see who they really are behind all of the things that we have built to appeal to the world to get away from us. This is a journey of self-discovery that is not something that happens from one hour to the other. It is like digging a slow and delicate. Each of the discovery, however small it may be, it is the key that unlocks a new layer of understanding and a new opportunity to connect with our inner selves. And, in the process, you realize that all the things that we thought we established, our pain, our achievements, our labels, in fact, the only parts of the transient universe is much larger than that taken up His dwelling inside of us. It's as if, when you open the door to our true selves, we can finally breathe freely, without the burden of unrealistic expectations, and without the burden of guilt or fear to be authentic. And so, our life is starting to take on a new meaning, a new direction, which arises in this connection is genuine with who they really are, in a direction that you do not have to be guided by the opinions of others, or by the standards of taxes, but not because of the truth inside it beats loud and clear, like a lighthouse lighting the way even on the nights darker. And it is that time of the wake-up call that we can begin to understand that all of our strength, with all our courage, doesn't come from an effort by an external, but an internal decision of the us to align with our deepest core. We leave aside the mask we use to hide our feelings, to hide who we are from the truth. It is like a seed that, once planted, it begins to grow quietly, fueled by a genuine desire to be whole, to be free of the shackles that keep us from living an authentic. And, in doing so, we realize that the biggest impact we can have on the world, and the lives of those around you, and comes exactly from this inner transformation, of the light that we shine brightly from the inside to the outside. Because, at bottom, all that we seek our own truth, and one that makes no sense, what brings you peace, you give meaning to our lives. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, as we reflect on this journey of self-discovery, we realize that it is a bridge that will lead you to a deeper understanding of who we are and what really matters to you. It's as if, when you connect with the strength within, we begin to see beyond the surface, beyond the opinion, in addition to all of the limitations that we have created in the course of time. And at that moment, a simple truth is revealed that we are more than our mistakes, our failures, our own doubts. We are a spirit, infinite, is a source of light that never goes out, even when everything around you seems dark and confused. This is the light that had always been there, just waiting for the people to decide to turn it on. It is in our true nature, our higher power. And, if you notice this, feel free to profound peace, which goes beyond all circumstances, external, because we all know that, deep down, we are full, we are whole, this is what we look on the outside, but which, in fact, it's always been inside of you. And with this understanding, everything changes. It will change the way we look at the challenges, the losses, the wins, all the aches and pains. Because, as we are reconnecting with such a force that has never left us, we've realized that we are no longer at the mercy of the outside world, but we are the creators of our own reality. Every decision, every step you take, it becomes an expression of that, our authenticity, and to the world around us, shall reflect the light. This is the truth that comes from the inside out. It's as if, when we align with this power, we begin to attract the things that truly resonate with who we are. In essence, no mask, no expectations. And, in it, life becomes a dance, a lighter, more real, more connected. Because, at the end of the day, all that really matters is that deep connection with who we are of the truth that sets us free from everything that limits us, and we will show that, even in the darkest nights, to the light, that we never shall be quenched. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, when you immerse yourself in the essence, we have realized that all the things that block them, we hold in our own limiting beliefs. It is, in fact, is a layer of self-deception, which we from time to time. The layers look so real, so solid, that a lot of the times we forget that these are the only masks that we wear to protect ourselves from it, or even to hide it. But true freedom is born when we began to break in these shades when we look inside, and see what it has always been there, silent, waiting for it to be recognized. It is a process of the mind, the courage to face our shadows, our doubts, our wounds, who continue to remain hidden in the shadows of the unconscious mind. And in that moment, you realize that this whole journey of self-discovery is, in fact, it is a dance operation between who we are and who we can be, in a constant exchange of energy, which is challenging us to evolve, to grow, to be ourselves. We can connect you with the truth within. We can begin to understand that life isn't a struggle with the outside world, but it's a battle of quiet within yourself. Every decision, every thought, every feeling that we cultivate, construct a map of the invisible to guide our actions, and therefore our reality. And what happens when they finally started to take the responsibility for this map? A release from the deep. It was almost a reinvention of who we are. We feel that the burden of the expectations of others, in the comparison, and the constraints that we have imposed over the years, it starts to fade slowly, like a mist that is dispersed by the rising of the sun. And then, in the area of freedom, the result is a clarity that I never had experienced it before. You're at the helm. We are the authors of our own story. This realization brings about a peace that seems almost magical, because it is a peace that is not dependent on external conditions, but the alignment procedure, a genuine connection with what is true for us. And, at the same time, the peace light a flame of hope, a hope that we can change any situation, no matter how hard it may seem, when we are in alignment with our inner selves. It's as if, when we accept our vulnerability and our own imperfections, we open the door to a greater power, a power that comes from within, and that pushes us to continue moving forward even in the face of obstacles most challenging. It is your own soul also. That is, we are reminded that we are made up of light and shadow, and they both coexist in the beauty of our growth. And on this path of self-acceptance, we found that all of the things that seem to be a problem, it's a pain, a limitation that, in fact, it's an opportunity for us to change. Each challenge has become an invitation to deepen our connection with what really matters to you, and to understand that the answers have always been inside us, hidden under layers of fear and doubt, just waiting to be discovered. And, in doing so, we are beginning to see the impact of this change the interior has on the world around us. We are no longer victims of our circumstances, but the agents are aware of our progress. With each step taken in the direction of self-knowledge, that is, a seed is planted in the ground of our soul, which is an origin of the slowly growing and thriving in the shape of a life more full, more real, more connected. So, when you look at all of this, we realize that the real magic is no longer there out on the things that you have built up or in the opinions. That is what it sounds like. It is within us, in our capacity to awaken to our true essence and transform the way we think. It is a silent revolution. A paradigm shift begins with a simple decision: to either accept who we are, with all our imperfections, and make room for what can still be. Because, deep down, this is the great revelation that we are eternally under construction, is to experience a journey of discovery, of new beginnings, to rewrite our own histories every day. And then, when we allow ourselves to freedom, life is no longer a struggle, and it turns out to be a dance in a harmonious, where each step reveals a new layer to our deepest truth. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, when you think about all of this, we found that the greatest change happens when we let go of the need to control, when you give our anxiety to find answers and to learn to trust in the process. The trust is, in fact, it is a manifestation of one's faith in one's ability to reinvent ourselves, to heal us, to set us free. And it is this faith, born of an understanding of the simple, yet powerful. It's all the things that we look out there, it's so much we want to win, that is already inside of us, waiting to be discovered. It's like a seed that, when planted in the soil of our soul, and it germinates very slowly, giving rise to a tree by a strong, scratch-resistant, and is the backbone of our entire journey. And this tree can only grow because it is fueled by self-love, acceptance, courage to look within and without fear. It's a constant renewal, an attentive listening to what your heart truly seeks, without the distractions of the outside world. When we begin to understand this, it changes everything. We have become more aware of our emotions, our intuition, our true love. We live a life that is based on the approval of others, and we have to live our life in alignment with who we truly are. And then, in the alignment, we found a freedom that can't be bought. It doesn't depend on external circumstances, but it is born out of a deep connection with our essence is genuine. It's like to be free from the bondage of the ego, and we can finally walk in light, with an open heart, ready to embrace every experience is a growth opportunity. Such a life is not perfect, but it's true. And this is a truth that has the power to change everything around you, because it is born from within, and an authenticity that moves and inspires those who are on our side. At this point, we realize that our greatest strength lies in the courage to be who you really are, without fear, without masks, with the certainty that this is the core of the purest and most powerful. And that is exactly the essence that drives us forward, even when everything seems to fall apart, even when on the questions you attempt in silence. Because, deep down, we know that on this journey of self-discovery is a bridge that takes us back to our true self, the one who's always been there, waiting to be recognized and to be loved. And when we make that connection, we have discovered that happiness is not something you find outside, but it's something that is awakened within us, as it is a light that never goes out. In this light, it's a turn on, lighting the way for those who decide to look into the inside, for those who choose to live with authenticity and courage. And the simplicity of such a choice is all the majesty of a life which is not dependent on external conditions, but it's our decision, a conscious being you truly be free. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. So, as we delve deeper into this journey of self-discovery, we realize that the true power lies precisely in our ability to pick and choose what we carry inside of us. And such a choice, too many times to be silent, wraps every step you take, every choice, every reaction, in the face of the world. It is as if, for behind the mask that we wear to protect ourselves, we are always looking for something to connect with the core of the most pure, the one who is often forgotten about because of the noise outside, the expectations of others, the fear of being judged or not being up to what we imagine it should be. But the big reveal is that this formula has never been lost. She was always there, hidden beneath the layers of the doubt, the insecurity. The routines are automatic in the trap under the illusion that everything is more difficult than it actually is. And then, when you wake up to the reality of this fact, we can begin to understand that freedom is not something that comes out of it. It's not a condition which you can conquer with the effort of an external, but an achievement of the internal decision to free ourselves from the shackles and invisible, which we from time to time. More and more, we realize that our way of thinking and acts as a magnifying glass is a kind of filter that determines what we do, what we believe to be the real one, the one that we have accepted as the truth. And the lens may be fogged by the limiting beliefs, patterns, and inherited by the needs, that it is not always possible to decide, but it echoes what we do in a way that we often don't even realize. It's like we are trapped in a story that has been told, and that, for the sake of convenience or comfort, we ended up just accepting it as the only one possible. But when you do, the point of our story, we are confronted with an opportunity. We can rewrite this story. We get to choose a new narrative, one that is aligned with who we truly are and want it to be. It is about having the courage, yes, because it implies that confront all of the things that we've learned to accept it as a truth, but it also gives us the chance to rebuild our reality from the inside to the outside of the turn, each thought, each feeling, each and every action. And this is where it comes in to discover a more profound. If we look inside, we see that the change is not in a battle with the outside world, but it is a silent revolution that is happening in our minds and in our hearts. And it is this revolution that is made up of small, daily decisions, the choices of who we want to be, even when everything around us seems to suggest otherwise. It is at this point that we realize that the biggest challenge is the change of the external, to the extent that, the circumstances in the offer, but on our willingness to help us to keep strong in our truth, not letting ourselves be carried away by the fear of the unknown, the questions that keep us around. And when you realize this, you start to understand that the true up is an act of courage, is a decision of whether or not to reconnect with what is most real to us, to embrace our vulnerability, and, at the same time, our strength is the lowest. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because when you make that inward journey, we begin to understand that our lives is like a seed that needs to be cared for, and nurture them with love, patience, and faith. And it is this seed that, when planted, dedication, flowers in a life that reflects our authenticity. It radiates and inspires those who are next to us and also to seek their own truth. All of this leads us to a broader understanding of what true transformation is, that it happens from the inside to the outside, that it does not depend upon an external factor, but it's our choice every day to be true to ourselves, even if it means to walk against the tide, to challenge the status quo, or face the fear of being different. Because, deep down, this is the essence of freedom, the courage to be who you really are, without the mask, 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 without the mask. And, in doing so, we realize that everything around you starts to change because of our energy, our actions, and our words will reflect that authenticity, and creating an impact in the invisible, yet very powerful, one that reverberates in the lives of those around us. The true evolution is, when we believe that it is the deepest in the us is a silence, a light that never goes out, even on the darkest nights. And that light is our core, lighting the way for those who decide to take this journey of self-discovery. Every step, every effort, every decision to keep the faith in the truth itself is like a seed planted in fertile soil, which, over time, gives you the fruits of a life more full, more aware, more in tune with what you really are. And, in the process, we discover that the greatest gift we can give ourselves, it is the courage to look inward, to listen to what your heart really tells you, and you follow that calling, even if the world insists on showing us a different picture. Because, at the end of the day, our freedom lies in our ability to choose who we are, regardless of what other people think, or what your circumstances try to put on us. And when you embrace that truth, we can begin to understand what the change is, in fact, on a journey of self-love and respect for who we are, and of faith in our ability to create a life that is truly ours. And to this day, no matter how challenging it may seem, it is also one of the most beautiful you can experiment with, because it connects us with what is deepest and truest in us. And when you embrace that truth, we can begin to understand what the change is, in fact, on a journey of self-love and respect for who we are, and of faith in our ability to create a life that is truly ours. For this journey, no matter how challenging it may seem, it is also one of the most beautiful you can experiment with, because it connects us with what is deepest and truest in us. And it is at this point that it becomes more and more clear, a change is not something that happens from the outside to the inside, but the discovery of the internal reconnection with the nature that we often forget in the rush of day-to-day, and, in the opinion of others, the questions that haunt us. When we look inside, we realize that a big part of what keeps us from moving forward, it is related to the sort of lock that is invisible, a story that we have accepted as truth without even realizing it. Maybe it's the voice that tells you you're not good enough, that we don't deserve what they really want, or that is in the world, It is unfair to the other so that we can achieve our dreams come true. But, in truth, all of it is a building with a history that we can rewrite at any time, with a conscious decision to look beyond what our physical eyes can see. And then comes a concept of what's often missed in the pursuit of success, or happiness, is our mindset. The way we think, feel, and we believe that we wrap each and every step that we take. If you charge a doubt, but this makes, we ended up creating a reality which reflects just that. But if we want to nurture thoughts of love and gratitude, and hope, you begin to see the world in a different way. It is as if a curtain was slowly lifted up, revealing a landscape that seemed to be hidden behind the thick clouds. And in that moment, it all starts to become more clear, lighter in weight, as much as possible. The real transformation is about having the courage, yes, but also with a dose of kindness to those who are in the process. It doesn't help to speed, force, or deny our feelings and emotions. Every step you take, every drop, every question is part of a trend that has no shelf life. This is a building on the daily. There is a sculpture, made with care, patience, and faith. And in that faith, it does not need to be something that's outside. It's a religion or a belief in something in the distance. It is, in fact, it is a reliable silent, that everything is happening exactly as it should be, and that every experience, every challenge, and serves on a shape and strengthen you. When we begin to see this, we realize that our greatest strength lies in all of us. Not for the approval of the world, and not in the possession of material goods, but will, in connection with the light that lives within us. And that light is the source of all things, of the hope, of courage, of creativity. It is the one that pushes us forward even when the path seems dark, or in the air. And when we align with it, we see that it becomes more and more clear, more real, more possible. After all, we are made of dreams, emotions, and energy that will never run out, since you learn how to get it, and trust that it's true. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Maybe you're wondering how to turn this understanding into concrete actions. How to really make a change in your mindset, your thinking patterns, and to build a new life that truly reflects who you are, in fact. Because, in spite of all of this discussion, we know that the world is out there, it still insists on the test, challenge us each and every day. However, the difference lies in how we choose to respond to these challenges. It may seem like a cliche, but the truth is that the power to change lies in our decision-making day-to-day choice of whether to stand firm for what you believe in and what we feel to be the truth. And, in the process, it is essential to understand that self-awareness is a bridge builder. The more you know, the more we were able to distinguish between our needs, our boundaries, our passions. This clarity is like a compass that guides us in the right direction, even when everything seems to be confused or uncertain. And as to that, the compass only works in truth, when you listen to our heart, when we are learning to silence the voices outside, and listen to the one who's always been inside of us, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Every decision that we make on the basis of this connection is genuine. It is a step in the direction of freedom, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And this freedom is what allows us to create a life that is aligned with our essence. That is, a life where you can express who you truly are, without masks or any limitations imposed by fear or doubt. It is a journey of self-discovery, reconstruction, and of peace. And, in the course of it, we learn to trust in the process, and the respect for our own pace, to enter into every step, however small they may seem. Because, deep down, it's all a matter of perseverance, of self-love, and of faith in our own ability to effect change. For this reason, when you think about all of this, we realize that the biggest secret lies in the courage to be who you are, in fact. And this courage is born out of a decision every day to love, to accept, to forgive. When you do this, it changes everything. It's not because the outside world is transformed instantaneously, but that's because of our relationship, it turns out, if it softens, is enriched with an all-new perspective. And, if you notice that an inner change, everything around you begins to reflect the light. This is peace, this is authenticity, which is now filled to capacity with greater self-confidence. It's as if, when we align with our core, Adavasimo is an invisible force capable of transforming any setting, any story, any of the pain. And so, we are moving forward with renewed hope for, and knowing where the real change happens inside of us, and that it is a choice and a commitment to day-to-day in our own lives. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. As it is, when we drop that in connection with our lives, we realize that everything around you starts to win with a whole new perspective. Life is no longer a series of random events, and is a story that you can rewrite, a story that can make for a fact. And it is this invisible force that appears there, silent but powerful. It seems to act as a bridge between who we are and who we can become. It's as if, when we align our thoughts, emotions, and actions that who we really are, so the energy of the transformation itself would be almost a natural response of the universe to our awakening. And that often manifests itself in ways we never imagined, in the subtle details, in the way that we, the people who show up in our way, or on the signs that seem to pop up out of nowhere, but in fact, it carries an important message. It's as if the universe were inviting us to trust our intuition, our inner voice that often gets drowned out by the noise of everyday life, by the fear of judgment, or the insecurity of not being good enough. When this connection is strengthened, the whole area turns into a sort of dance, a choreographer, silent, where each step is guided by the wisdom that dwells within each of us, is a kind of internal map that shows the path to an agreement with what is true for each one of them. And then, in the process, we can begin to understand that our choices, however small they may seem, they have a huge impact on our journey. Each and every choice, it's like a seed planted in the ground, which, if planted with a conscience, and it blooms into something which reflects our essence, is pure. And this understanding leads to greater responsibility, because we understand that we are no longer at the mercy of chance or circumstance, but we have a very active role in building our future. It is an art that requires courage, because a lot of times it means letting go of the old standard of questions in the trap of the fears that we, as the walls of our growth. And, at the same time, it's liberating, because it connects us with the power that has always been inside of you, waiting for the moment to be reckoned with. It is like a flash of light, which, when turned on, lights up everything around it, revealing the details of it before you went unnoticed, as the life, to gain a lot of things that only reveal themselves to those who have the courage to face his own truth. And when you do that, you start to realize that all of our emotions, and often seen as a hindrance, they are in fact allies in the process of evolution. They show what is out of balance, the one which is in need of attention and healing. And, the inclusion of these emotions with compassion, we take an important step in the direction of self-knowledge and the true one, the one that doesn't seek to hide it, or deny it, but you accept, integrate, and transform it. On this journey, it's a sort of ritual, where we learn to listen, to pay attention, how to interpret the signals, and to have confidence in our ability to come up with solutions that are aligned with our essence. And so, we see that the world has started to reflect this change, in a way, almost magical, as if it were a direct response to our inner selves. As we become more authentic, more true to ourselves, everything around us, it also goes to the tune of that authenticity, creating a sense of harmony that attracts the things that really complements on our journey of growth. I now want to go more in depth on that subject. The connection with our inner selves is not only a quest, it's a sort of awakening, a continuous journey that never ends, but is that which feeds off of each and every step taken in the direction of the truth. It's like planting a seed that will sprout and blossom into a sturdy tree, whose branches reach up the possibility of it before seemed unattainable. And, over the years, we have learned that the greatest power lies in our ability to pick and choose what we carry within ourselves and decide what stories we want to tell you, what are the emotions that we want to nurture, and that the values we wish to honor. Because, deep down, we are the creators of our own reality, and that all change begins with a decision, with a sincere commitment to honor those who are, in fact. This awareness gives us an immense freedom, a freedom that is born out of the realization that we are the authors of our own lives, that we all have the power to rewrite the chapter, turn the pain into lessons learned, and turn dreams into real stocks. And, in doing so, we realize that the greatest impact, it is not outside, but within us, in the way that we look at our own history, the courage that we need to open our hearts and accept that it's all part of the process of evolution. Because, at the end of the day, this is a journey of discovery. This is a bridge that takes us from a state of deep sleep and into consciousness, more awake, more alive, more real, and where it all takes on a new meaning, a new color, a new intensity. And that is exactly where we start with the true transformation, one that is more than skin deep, but that it permeates every fiber of our being to change the way we see the world and, especially, to realize it. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, deep down, that change is not something that happens at one time or another, such as one click on off switch. It is more like a seed that, when planted in the right soil, it begins to grow quietly, growing slowly, and it often is invisible to the eye, but to get up from the inside out. And in the process, they realize that all the things that seem to be fixed, but it seemed to be the core of the definitive, in fact, it is just a layer on the surface of a truth is a lot bigger, a fact that has always been there, hidden beneath layers of fear, doubt, expectation, and even have a routine that keeps you stuck on the idea of who we are. When you begin to realize this is kind of a wake up, the feeling that we are living in a dream, in which we have been programmed to believe that it is our reality, but in truth, there has always been a freedom that's invisible there, just waiting to be discovered. And this freedom is not an external act, a change in the circumstances, but to an internal decision of a silent, looking in, wondering all the things that we've been taught to accept without question. It's like, all of a sudden, you start to see life with new eyes that they are not limited by what others want, but what you see with clarity, renewed, and with a sincerity which seem to be far away or even unattainable. At this time, all of which seem to be a barrier, a limit, it becomes an opportunity for growth, discovery, and reconstruction. And, at the same time, you feel a sense of lightness and breaks into the heart of it, because you understand that truth is hidden. It's like opening a door that had been closed to the keys for a long time, a door which reveals a whole world of possibilities and self-discovery. And, what is more, such a journey is not something you do on your own, no matter how many times is a walk alone. She has a deep connection to what we are all about, a reconnection with our most authentic self, the one which has not been shaped by the views of the world, but they have always been there, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. It is as if, in the course of time, we have accumulated a layer mask from the expectations of others, and of the fears that keep us from seeing who we really are. But, when this revelation occurs, it all melts away, slowly, like fog in the morning, by leaving the show a flavor of a pure, for a light of its own, which it has never ceased to exist. And, in this instance, the impact of this is profound, because we understand that the whole of our journey, with its ups and downs, and led us right up until here, until this discovery, which is at the same time liberating and transformative. What seemed to be an external search, an achievement that was dependent on external factors, it begins to reveal itself as a built-in search, a journey of self-discovery that there is no end to it, because with each layer that you peel, these skins will lead you to a new layer of understanding. It's as if you're unraveling a mystery, that is, in fact, never has it been so difficult to grasp, but which could only be discovered when you had the courage to look inward, to face our own shadows, our deepest doubts and, above all, the fear of being who you really are. And, your courage, your willingness to be open to the truth, is what really changes, because once you understand what's behind our masks, we seek a new way of life, more in tune with our inner selves, the more sincere and more for free. And it is at this point that you realize that all the things that seem to be a constant struggle, a battle against the world or against us, in truth, it is an opportunity for self-creation, of the redemption of our power is real. Because, to be free of these shackles and invisible, we have discovered that life is not something that happens outside of us, but it is a reflection of our inner connection with what our true selves. And when you make that connection, everything takes on a new meaning, a new color, a new vibe. At this point, we are asked to look at life with the eyes and renewed, to realize that every experience, every challenge is an opportunity to build on this connection, to strengthen our authenticity, and to the fact that the greatest power is within us, always has been and it always will be. And, in Up, we see that true freedom is not something that is achieved out there, but it's an achievement that happens in the silence of the heart, and the courage to be honest with ourselves. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because, when you think about all of this, we've noticed that this is a journey of self-discovery is, in fact, it is a constant invitation to transformation. Not a transformation, what comes out of it, but the one that comes from within, manifesting itself in the way in which we relate to the world, to people, to our emotions. It is as if, in the understanding of our inner selves, we begin to act in a way that's more aligned with, the most real, the most compassionate. And when we do, the impact is not limited to ourselves. It echoes, in some way, the lives of those around us, creating a chain of changes that can transform reality, to break the paradigms and wake up the other in conscience. And this is the chain of transformation. It is a proof of that, as we become more aware of it, we are contributing to a world that is more aware, too. And, in it, wake up each and every step, however small it may seem, it is a victory for the silent, an affirmation that we are on the right path, even though that path is done, the questions, the challenges, and moments of profound doubt. Because, after all, the greatest strength of this journey is to make sure we are evolving, we are becoming better versions of ourselves, and that this performance is slower, that is to say, it is the greatest gift that you can give to the world and to ourselves. And then, when you think about it, everything becomes clear that the quest for self-knowledge is a genuine internal revolution, a transformation that begins in the soul, and which, in turn, is reflected in the way we live, love, create, and be. It's a paradigm shift, with a turn of the key, which makes us realize that all of what we are looking for out there, it only makes sense when it is aligned with who we are of the truth. And, in this connection, that the alignment is the one that gives meaning to each and every step of our journey. even the nights are the darkest, even in our most challenging. Because, deep down, that the light that we seek has always been inside of us, waiting for the moment to turn on. And to understand this, we realize that our greatest goal is to simply leave the light to shine through, without fear, without reservation, and with courage and with love. And so we, who are more aware of what this day is, in fact, it's a constant discovery of who we are and who we can be, and of all the things you can gain that to be free in our own prisons, will not be seen. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. If you've come this far, it's because that's the message he spoke to you in some way. Few people have been able to let this moment of reflection and a genuine connection, and if you're here, it's because something inside of you are here today, with all of this. He comments that I'm with you till the end, because you share this feeling. It reinforces that this is a journey that is made up of small steps, but it makes a world of difference. Enjoy and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to deepen the reflections of this kind. Each image is a great opportunity to explore this universe inside, to get a better understanding of who we are and how we can make our own reality on the basis of what we carry inside of us. If this content made you think differently, if you sign up to continue to walk with me, and, of course, if this message has touched you in some way, the leaves, and the like, your simple gesture will help to spread this thought, causing more people to be able to find this call for change and to grow. Because, deep down, all you want is in this light that we have is each time more and more strong. The lighting is not the only way, but it's also for those who cross our way. If this talk has made you feel something special, and there's a video right here on the side, which complements this subject, click and keeps me there as well. The journey continues, and I want to be with you in every step you take. Why is this story still has a lot to prove? It is on me, because the story has stayed with me until the very end, and I'm sure you also have stayed with you. This day is ours, and it will only end when you decide that it is time to move forward with an open heart.